This isn't Cleopatra, the seductress. This is Cleopatra, the working queen.
The idea about this temple, it was never finished. All the scholars believe it never functioned as a temple, and I believe they were wrong.
Just now, Egyptian researchers stumbled upon an ancient tunnel that could lead directly to the lost tomb of Cleopatra. This chilling breakthrough in a land drenched with forgotten lore hints we're close to uncovering the final resting place of Egypt's most infamous queen. With this strange tunnel now unearthed after centuries hidden beneath the sands, could we be moments away from revealing its secrets? Let's crack open the mysteries Cleopatra took to her grave. The veiled chambers of Cleopatra's final rest. The exploration of Cleopatra's final moments reveals a potential intersection with profound religious rituals, culminating perhaps in her entombment within a sacred temple. This elusive resting place, speculated to conceal her tomb, nestles in the heart of Egypt, a land rich with the relics of antiquity. Cleopatra, an emblem of power and enigma, ruled as the most formidable woman of her era, her life intricately woven with figures like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Yet, as centuries have passed, the details of her reign and personal story have dimmed in the collective memory. In a recent surge of discovery, a group of Egyptian experts uncovered an ancient tunnel. This new find holds the promise of leading to her long-hidden tomb, potentially unlocking secrets that have been buried with the sands of time. As the world waits with bated breath, the last deciphered hieroglyphs on the tunnel's entrance hint at an unforeseen revelation. This discovery is seen as a big breakthrough in archaeology. She was the last ruler of Egypt's Ptolemaic kingdom and has fascinated people for years with her intelligence, political skills, and famous love affairs. For a long time, no one knew exactly where she was buried, which left historians guessing. The mystery began to unravel in the early 21st century, led by Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, and Kathleen Martinez, a lawyer from the Dominican Republic who taught herself archaeology. Martinez, driven by her admiration for her, came up with a bold idea. She suggested that Cleopatra and Mark Antony might be buried in the temple of Taposiris Magna near Alexandria, based on her study of old writings. But here's where things get even more interesting. Martinez's idea was different from the common belief that she was buried in Alexandria. She drew inspiration from ancient writers like Plutarch and Cassius Dio, who hinted that she worshipped the goddess Isis and might have been buried in a temple dedicated to her. In 2005, Martinez received permission to start digging at Taposiris Magna, which could lead to one of the greatest archaeological finds ever. But this wasn't going to be easy. The site, located on the edge of the Libyan desert, was full of challenges due to its crumbling structures and complicated layers of history. Over the years, the team uncovered some amazing artifacts, like coins with her face, statues, and carvings, suggesting a link to her. Many of these discoveries happened during unexpected weather like sandstorms or rain, which seemed to lead the archaeologists to important finds. Some team members even reported having dreams and visions of ancient ceremonies, believing these were signs from the past. But that wasn't the most surprising part. The team discovered a large, unfinished tunnel under a temple that led to several chambers. These chambers were carefully carved and seemed to be meant for someone very important, possibly her. In one hidden room, they found golden relics and inscriptions mentioning a Queen of Kings, a title often connected with her. Her tomb's discovery captured much media attention and public interest. Press conferences were held and documentaries were made. Meanwhile, the artifacts were carefully documented and preserved. Many of these items, including statues, jewelry, and coins, were sent to museums worldwide, drawing large crowds eager to learn more about her time. The findings at Taposiris Magna led to more archaeological searches in the area, bringing together experts to uncover more buildings and objects that reveal details about that period. But that's not where the story ends. This site has now become a popular tourist attraction, giving a big boost to the local economy and helping people appreciate Egypt's rich cultural history even more. Educational programs and public talks have shared the knowledge gained from these discoveries, inspiring a new generation of archaeologists and historians. The tomb provides a fascinating glimpse into her life and reign, showing her skills and the complexities of her time. Her many languages spoke of power and mystery, bridging cultures and civilizations. She was fluent in several languages, including Egyptian, Greek, and Latin, and possibly more. This ability to speak many languages helped her connect easily with different people and leaders from various cultures. It was a great asset in her diplomatic work, allowing her to build and keep strong political alliances. Her rule was a fascinating mix of Egyptian and Greek traditions. She embraced Egyptian customs and religious practices and even presented herself as the reincarnation of the goddess Isis. At the same time, she held on to her Greek roots. This blending of cultures could be seen in the art, architecture, and ceremonies of her time, creating a rich and lively cultural scene. The tomb at Taposiris Magna, which is believed to be her final resting place, shows her vision for architecture. The tomb is filled with detailed carvings, hidden rooms, and complex tunnels, highlighting the advanced building techniques of that era. The design of the tomb reflects the grandeur she likely imagined for her eternal home. The objects found in the tomb, like golden jewelry, statues, and inscriptions, are full of meaning. They underline her royal status, religious beliefs, and political ambitions, giving us a glimpse into her life and how she wanted to be remembered as a divine ruler. But that's not all. The symbols and writing on these objects show how she saw herself and how she wanted to be seen by future generations. The discovery of hidden rooms and tunnels suggests she went to great lengths to protect her final resting place. These hidden features reveal her deep understanding of architecture and a strong belief in the afterlife, adding a layer of mystery and showing how much she cared about her legacy. The tomb at Taposiris Magna is quite large, with many connected rooms and tunnels. The main burial chamber, thought to be her final resting place, is decorated with intricate carvings and golden artifacts. The size and elaborate design suggest it was made for someone very important, supporting the idea that it might indeed be her tomb. Among the treasures found were many statues, some showing her and others depicting Egyptian gods and goddesses. But this wasn't the only surprise. Researchers also found a large collection of golden jewelry, like necklaces, bracelets, and rings, many of which were engraved with hieroglyphs and symbols related to royalty and divinity. They also uncovered coins with her image and inscriptions, providing even more evidence of the tomb's identity. These items not only highlight her royal status, but also offer a direct link to her life and reign, helping us understand her time more deeply. About 270 to 280 years before Christ, a city named Taposiris Magna was founded by Pharaoh Ptolemy II. The name means Great Tomb of Osiris, referring to a significant temple dedicated to Osiris, an important god in Egyptian religion. Historians, like Plutarch, tell us that this temple was devoted to Osiris after Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BC and founded the city of Alexandria. Taposiris Magna became an important center for the Cock Festival, which celebrated the death and rebirth of Osiris. This period, known as the Ptolemaic era, saw Egypt ruled by a dynasty that began with Alexander's conquests and continued until the Romans took over after her death in 30 BC. When Napoleon Bonaparte arrived in Egypt in 1798, he brought not only his army, but also French scholars who studied the structures of Taposiris Magna. Their findings were published in a famous work called Description de l'Égypte. In the 20th century, an Italian archaeologist named Evaristo Brea carried out more excavations, with some people wondering if Alexander the Great himself might have passed through Taposiris Magna on his way to the Siwa oasis. The city was located near the edge of what was once Lake Mariu, which made it an important trading port between Egypt and Libya. The area was known for producing excellent wine, which was famous throughout the ancient world, though the full extent of its trade importance is still debated. Ancient stories rise from the ruins, ready to be told. Discoveries at Taposiris Magna. High on a limestone ridge overlooking the sea and Lake Mariut, two restored ancient structures from the 1930s still tell stories from the past. One is a tall building that looks like the famous Lighthouse of Alexandria, and the other is the ruins of a temple dedicated to Osiris, which some people think could be the burial place of Cleopatra herself. But that wasn't the most surprising discovery. In 1974, researchers found out that the Tower of Abusir, once thought to be a lighthouse, was actually a memorial from the Ptolemaic era. Nearby excavations uncovered houses, public buildings, water reservoirs, and early Christian churches. The local cemetery had many different types of graves, including stone sarcophagi, pyramids, columns, and decorated pillars, suggesting a thriving community from the 2nd century BC to the 7th century AD. Then, in 2022, an astonishing discovery was made. Beneath the ancient Egyptian temple, a tunnel was found 20 meters below ground, standing about 2 meters tall and stretching over 135 meters long. It seems to have carried water to many people in the city, and it closely resembles Greece's Eupalinos Tunnel. But this was only the beginning. Since 1998, careful digging has revealed a giant granite statue of a Ptolemaic king, although the head is missing. Near it is the original entrance to the Osiris temple, decorated with limestone. Evidence suggests this entrance was once lined with Sphinx statues, showing the grandeur of the time. Dr. Zahi Hawass, a famous archaeologist, believes this statue might represent Ptolemy IV, who ordered the building of the Taposiris Magna temple. Behind this temple, a large cemetery filled with Greco-Roman mummies was discovered, all facing the temple, suggesting that this could be the burial site of a significant royal figure, possibly even the queen. But that wasn't the end of the discoveries. In 2022, Kathleen Martinez, a lawyer from the Dominican Republic, led a new expedition. Her team uncovered 27 tombs, 20 designed as vaulted sarcophagi, partially above and below ground, and the remaining 7 also adding to the mystery. Tombs often have stairs that lead down into simple rooms where people were buried. In some of these tombs, archaeologists found 10 mummies. 2 of them were covered in gold, which might mean that someone important like a king or queen could be buried in the temple. The style of the tombs suggests they were built during a time when Greek and Roman cultures were blending in the area. Martinez, who leads the excavation team, announced they had found a temple dedicated to the goddess Isis at the site of Osiris Magna. Among the things they discovered were coins with the face of Alexander the Great. They also found several deep pits on the temple grounds, and 3 of them were probably used to bury important people. The team thinks that famous historical figures, maybe even she and Mark Antony, could be buried in one of these pits. Martinez also shared that they found an amazing sculpture of her head and 22 coins that showed her looking very beautiful. This finding challenges earlier views by some historians who said she wasn't particularly attractive. These discoveries at Taposiris Magna have sparked conversations about her ancestry, as the sculpture shows no signs of sub-Saharan features, which goes against another common theory. But that wasn't the most surprising find. The team also uncovered many amulets and a statue without a head from the same period, which is considered one of the most fascinating discoveries. A unique mask they found had a split chin, which looks a lot like images of Mark Antony. In 2002, a radar survey of the ancient site of Taposiris Magna kicked off a focused search for the tomb of her and Mark Antony, led by Zahi Hawass, who was the Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, and Kathleen Martinez, a researcher from the Dominican Republic. New finds cast long shadows, hinting at hidden truths, secrets of Egypt's last queen. By 2012, the team learned that parts of the ruins had been damaged during the Second Battle of El Alamein. They even found unexploded bombs and remains of Italian and New Zealand soldiers in the tunnels beneath the temple. In 2013, the excavation had to stop temporarily, but Martinez was given permission to continue her work 2 years later. In 2015, a UK documentary called Cleopatra's Lost Tomb showed Martinez expressing hope that they were getting closer to finding her tomb. She highlighted 2 possible burial sites deep underground, and the team was excited for the digging season in 2016. However, this was not the end of their journey. In 2020, the Science Channel aired a documentary featuring the latest discoveries from the site. The next year, Martinez's team announced they had found tombs that were about 2,000 years old, dating back to the Greek and Roman times. Inside these tombs were mummies with golden tongues, which they believed were meant to help the dead speak with Osiris in the afterlife. Among the artifacts, some mummies were decorated in different ways. One had a crown with symbols of Hathor and a cobra, suggesting royal status, while another had a golden necklace. And the surprises didn't stop there. In 2022, they made another big discovery, a long tunnel for transporting water from the same period, located 20 meters underground. These ongoing excavations are giving us vital clues about the final days of Egypt's last queen. The treasures found in her tomb, like gold jewelry, silk robes, and scrolls that recorded her rule, reveal the richness and importance of her reign. This makes it one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in recent years. This new discovery shines a light on the life of the famous queen and the splendor of her final resting place. But what does this tell us about her real impact on history? Share your thoughts with us. She was the last ruler of Egypt's Ptolemaic dynasty. She died in Alexandria in early to mid-August of 30 BC at the age of 39. While the exact date of her death is uncertain, some historians believe it was on August 12, 30 BC, based on different historical records. Others think it might have been August 10th. Many people believe she died from the bite of an asp, an Egyptian snake. However, Roman historians of her time, like Strabo, Plutarch, and Cassius Dio, suggest she may have used poison instead. Some think she might have applied it with a lotion or even a hairpin. To this day, experts are still unsure about the real cause of her death. Was it the snake bite, or was she eliminated? Some even suggest that Octavian, her Roman rival, might have forced her to choose her own way to die. But that's not the most intriguing part. Despite many attempts, her burial site has never been found. Historical records suggest that Octavian, who later became Emperor Augustus, allowed her to be buried honorably alongside her partner, Mark Antony, who had taken his own life. Her death marked the end of the last conflict of the Roman Republic. After losing a key battle against Octavian, she and Antony fled to Egypt, where Octavian finally defeated them. By choosing death, she avoided being paraded as a prisoner in Octavian's victory celebration. Octavian, determined to eliminate any threat, ordered the execution of Caesarion, who was believed to be Julius Caesar's son. However, he spared Cleopatra's other children with Antony, taking them to Rome. Her death marked the end of Egypt's rule by the Greeks and its transition into a Roman province. But this wasn't the end of her story. Over time, the dramatic death has inspired countless works of art, from sculptures and paintings to plays and movies. While she was rarely depicted in ancient Roman art, Later periods such as the Renaissance, Baroque, and Victorian eras were captivated by her story. Many artworks highlight the image of her dying from a snake bite, which became especially popular in the Victorian era. Each clue blurs the line between fact and legend. Cleopatra's veiled end. After Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, Rome was thrown into chaos. To bring order, 3 leaders, Octavian, Mark Antony, and Aemilius Lepidus, formed the Second Triumvirate to avenge Caesar. But the alliance was short-lived. Octavian quickly pushed Lepidus aside and split the empire with Antony, taking the west for himself and giving the east to Antony. The Greek queen ruling from Alexandria had already given birth to Caesar's son, Caesarion. After Caesar's death, she allied herself with Antony. This alliance grew stronger, leading Antony to divorce his wife, Octavia Minor, who was Octavian's sister. This action, along with Antony's plans to give Roman territories to her children, angered the Roman Senate and sparked a war against her. But that wasn't the worst part. After losing the naval battle at Actium, she and Antony returned to Egypt to prepare for the final fight. As Octavian's forces grew stronger, many of Antony's soldiers switched sides. With defeat looming, she hid in her tomb and sent a false message to Antony, claiming she had died. Distraught, Antony tried to eliminate himself. He was taken, gravely wounded, to her, where he died in her arms, declaring that he had died with honor. She found a way to trust a man named Proculus, who was in Octavian's camp. He managed to climb a wall using a ladder and got into her tomb through a window. He caught up with her just as she was about to destroy herself and her treasures. However, before being captured, she managed to save Antony's body. Eventually, she was taken to the palace, where she met Octavian. He had also taken her children, Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene II, and Ptolemy Philadelphus, into his custody. During this meeting, she boldly stated that she would not be paraded as a prisoner in a victory march. Octavian vaguely promised her safety, but didn't share any details about Egypt's future or her family. But that wasn't the worst part. A secret messenger warned her that Octavian planned to display her as a captive in Rome. Rather than face such humiliation, she decided to end her own life. According to the writer Plutarch, in her final moments, she took a bath and had a last meal of figs. Octavian had ordered his servant Aphodius to keep a close eye on her to stop any attempt at eliminating himself. However, she and her servants cleverly tricked him and carried out their plan. When Octavian received her last request, to be buried next to Antony, he sent messengers to save her, but they arrived too late. Plutarch wrote that she was found with her maid Iris, dead at her feet, and another servant, Charmian, adjusting her crown before she too died. It's unclear whether this took place in her palace or her tomb. But this wasn't the end of the mystery. Another historian, Cassius Dio, reported that Octavian tried to revive her by having snake charmers draw out venom, but it didn't work. Although he was upset about not getting a full victory, he respected her wish to be buried next to Antony and also gave a proper burial to her maids, Iris and Charmian. The exact cause of her death remains debated. Some think it was a snake bite, while others believe it was poison. There are different stories, some mentioning a sharp hairpin used to deliver poison, and others suggesting small snake bites. Yet, many question how a large snake could have been smuggled into her quarters. And there's more to the story. As time passed, new theories came to light. Some historians suggest that she might have chosen death by snakebite to symbolize her royal status, as the uraeus, a sacred serpent, represented Egyptian royalty. However, others argue that this method might not have been just for the royals, and the venom, though deadly, would not cause an instant death. But even this is not the whole picture. There are other explanations, including ideas of carbon monoxide poisoning or even the possibility that Octavian had her eliminated, making it look like he decided to eliminate himself. Her death, along with that of her son Caesarion, marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the Hellenistic era, which had started with Alexander the Great. This critical moment in history is still full of mysteries, with scholars continuing to explore the many layers of her death and what it meant for the ancient world. What do you think really happened to Cleopatra? Was her death a well-orchestrated decision to eliminate himself, disguised as such, or an accidental tragedy? Share your thoughts, like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more.